episode 2 of Reader Mail Mondays with Vaughn R. Demont. I, of course, am Vaughn R. Demont. Luckily, this is only take 4 this time. I've got quite a few questions this week. Apparently, people seem to like last week's premiere episode. So I'm just going to jump right into it so that we can get as many questions answered as possible. The first question that we received this week is, do you feel you have a natural flair for writing in a particular manner, such as funny, dark, or sex scenes, or does it just depend on how you're feeling at the time? I would have to say if I have a natural flair for writing anything, it's probably humor. Sex scenes are actually probably my weakest. Actually, my weakest kind of scene is combat scenes. I hate writing combat scenes. Sex scenes, I really had to lean on doing a lot of outside research, not that kind of research. I actually read The Joy of Writing Sex by Elizabeth Benedict. I read this in undergrad, and I read it again in grad school, basically to help me with my writing. As for, depending on how I'm feeling at the time, I don't know, it usually actually depends on what time of day it is, which is actually the next question is, what time of day do your writing best at? I do a lot of my writing usually starting around 9 o'clock at night, and I usually finish around 2 or 3 in the morning. Sometimes I get some work done earlier in the day, but for the most part I'm a night owl. I guess it's just because a lot of the writing I do, I don't want anybody to actually, see. The third question is, at the end of your first episode, what were you drinking? At the end of the first episode, I was drinking a wine glass filled with Pepsi Throwback. I would have to say that if Pepsi wants to sponsor us at all, yeah, I would have to say that Throwback's probably my favorite by them, just because when you drink the regular stuff, you end up with that weird kind of film on your teeth. That's from the corn syrup, I guess. So yeah, Pepsi Throwback, yeah. So, what do you do when you're not writing? I'm sure there's going to be at least 20 captions going at the bottom of the screen. I'm a video game addict. Rock Band, Fable, Japanese role-playing games, Western role-playing games, The Sims. And I watch an unbelievable amount of TV. I've actually gotten my housemate hooked on quite a few series. Leverage, Dexter, Battlestar Galactica, House, Monk, Psych, Supernatural, of course. I love that show. He, as a result, has got me hooked on Family Guy. For the most part, it's the kind of couch potato kind of stuff. Watch a lot of movies, particularly those really formulaic romantic comedies. I'm kind of a sucker for those, so. Alright. The next question. What advice can you offer for someone wanting to get into writing these kinds of stories? I'm pretty sure that you're saying, if you're talking about ebooks, usually the best advice I can offer is to check out the sites of some publishers that you like, that you've bought stuff from. If you actually don't buy anything from, then I would say Google just various ebooks. The Absolute Right Water Cooler is actually a really great resource. There's a lot of information, posts from actual authors, publishers, about agents, publishing houses, both electronic and print. It's a great place to go to start doing research on where you might want to send your stuff. I would say also go to the main sites of some of the publishers that you decide to submit to. almost all of them have a submissions page. Usually it's on their main page. Just look for submissions, or usually their contact page if they don't have a submissions page. Often they'll have submissions calls that let you know what they're looking for and what they're taking at the time. Never, ever, ever send material to a publisher that they're not taking for submission at the time, because you'll just get a flat-out rejection. As far as actual submissions go, I would say, just going from a little bit of experience myself, just keep going over either that first page or the first 10 pages of your piece, because those are by far the most important pages in the piece. Those are the ones that are going to either get you picked up, or at the very least a request for your full manuscript, because sometimes they don't ask for your full manuscript. If they take short stories, I would say start small. That way you don't spend 3 or 4 months of your life writing a 50 to 70,000 word or possibly even more novel that you can't sell anywhere. Start with short stories first, get your name out there, go to some forums, maybe even post your fiction for free, get involved in authors communities, and basically just, like I said, try to get your name out there, because exposure is probably the most important thing when you're first starting out as a writer. Because nobody knows you, and if nobody knows you, nobody's going to buy your stuff. Other than that, I would also say check the reputations of the publishers that you're getting involved with. Find out what kind of royalties they offer. You'll find with ebooks, you'll tend to get a higher percentage for your royalties than you would for print publishing, but with print publishing you tend to get much higher circulation. Although it's much harder to get print published, obviously, unless you're going through small presses. I could talk all day about this, but my best advice is do your research, start small, get your name out as much as you can, and I wish you the best of luck. So, next one is well, I did say nothing's out of bounds, so, okay, was it good for you?
That was scary!
Moving on to the last question. You people are strange. Actually, before we get to the last question, we're going to pause for a brief word from our sponsors. I see that we have no sponsors. Okay. Tipstar's there for a reason, people. Okay. Sorry. Alright, final question. Where do you get your ideas for your books? Thank you. I feel like I've really made it now. Usually, the quick and dirty answer, usually from a combination of stuff that I've listened to, music that I listen to, stuff like that. This is probably going to be wrapping it up for now, so I'd like to give a shout out, of course, to my e-publisher, Torquere Press. If you want to get your questions in, my email address is Vaughn Demont, all one word, @yahoo.com. Please feel free to check out my blog, and make sure to stop by this Friday for Free Fiction Friday. So I will see you all next week.